Day, percussionist.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day.
And he joined this next one too.
We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. Love, 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 joined together in love. Love, 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 joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in love. Joy, 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 joined together in joy. Joy, 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 joined together in joy. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in peace. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in peace. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in peace. We are brothers, we are sisters, joined together in peace. Peace, 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 joined together in peace. Peace, 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 joined together in peace.
New songs, new Sunday, new day. Good morning. I'm Teresa Valenzuela, and I am a practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces. Welcome. And our vision here is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. Welcome to anyone visiting for the first time. Please help yourself to a packet of information. There's a gift certificate to the bookstore in there. And visit our bookstore as well. And they're at either one of the tables as you leave this beautiful sanctuary. Check out our newsletter and website for all of the other groups and activities taking place right here in our building, including upcoming workshops. There's flyers out there on the table. For example, practitioner Teresa Valenzuela will be starting a new book study this Tuesday, The Listening Path. It's a book by Julia Cameron. So if you're ready to become a better listener to yourself and to others, please join us at 1:30 on Tuesday afternoon. All are welcome and invited to be here. And our next class with Reverend Bonnie is Beyond Limits, and that starts this week as well. There's more information on the table. Drum roll, please. Thank you to all of the wonderful people who helped with our treasure sale. Probably about 80% of the people in this room We were able to support the center's operations fund with $2,118 so far. I still see more things for sale out in the social hall, so it's still for sale. Help yourself to some new stuff for your home. It is also quickly approaching that time of year when we have our annual meetings. So on Sunday, May 15th, after service, please plan to stay and participate in the activities of our center. There's going to be a potluck, I hear, but that's just a rumor. Yes, it's a beautiful community that we have here. We are blessed to have this amazing building and these amazing people with their gifts and time that they give so that all of us have a place to come each and every day of the week. We believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Please fill out a prayer request, which can be found in pockets on the chair backs. There is a God can in the back as you're walking out, or you can leave your prayer requests in the offering plates. Every Tuesday afternoon, without fail, the New Thought ministers and practitioners of Las Cruces meet together over Zoom to pray with you. In addition, we have this amazing website with an amazing prayer request button. And you can also send your prayers to us. Everything is confidential, and we pray with you. Even more so, we'd love to hear how Spirit is working within your life. So in the chair backs as well are gratitude cards. So we'd love to know, please share with us all the blessings that you've experienced just in the last week. We celebrate those at prayer time meeting on Tuesdays, and then we put them up on the board back there so that people can see that Love and Law does manifest amazing things in each and everyone's life. After service, those of us that are wearing our stoles, I see Judy out there, myself. Bob is always behind the camera here working with technology, so we'll fill in for him, but please come, we'll be standing up here for a short prayer with you right after service. Now it is time for song, silence, and prayer. In the silence, there is peace. In the silence, there is unspoken joy. In the silence, there's sweet release. From a world filled with chaos and noise. Not away in these precious moments when I'm near all that will never be said, and right here in this holy silence, I find myself. In the silence, there is peace. In the silence, there is unspoken joy. In the silence, there's release. From a world filled with chaos and noise, I'm away in these precious moments when I'm near all that will never be said, and right here in this holy silence, I find So as I take a deep breath, I just allow myself to settle into that absolute perfection of gratitude. With an open heart and open mind, I am here this morning to be blessed and to bless those around me. As Reverend Bonnie shares her words of wisdom, I know that it is time to be. It is time to be the I am. And just so grateful for all the people that have shown up this morning here at the center, for those on Zoom, for those that will be tuning in later on YouTube. For it is a community and a village that comes together to pull apart the words, the philosophy of religious science. We are here ready to receive, change our thinking, thus changing our life. And so we're just rejoicing in this beautiful morning, the beginning of a beautiful week, knowing that I am in the perfect place right here and right now. And so it is. And so it is. The reading today comes from the Essential Ernest Holmes, and it's also in the Science of Mind book. So here we go. If we can accept the proposition that feeling and emotion are certain ways of thinking, and actually reduce them to thought or to mind in action, then we can see how it is that thought can change them. As a matter of fact, this is what psychiatry and spiritual and mental counseling do. This may be done through having the patient talk his troubles out of himself with the kindly guidance of a wise counselor. Or it may be done as in our method, by the practitioners thinking back to the spiritual reality of the patient and identifying the patient with it. The results will be the same, except that in ordinary counseling, the logical implications of the spiritual nature of the patient are not emphasized. But if we are rooted in this deep reality, which we know that we must be, it follows that our thoughts should reach back even through the feeling and the emotion to reality itself. We recognize that we cannot do this by the intellect alone. Our work has a feeling about it, a feeling of the divine presence and the emotion of infinite love. As metaphysicians, or those who believe in spiritual mind healing, we do not deny physical facts or psychic facts, nor do we hesitate to affirm that there are spiritual facts. We should put them all together. The emotions affect the physical body, and the mind can be destructive or constructive, according to the way it is used. For this is a law of mind and action, but back of it all is the actor. Wise counseling leads from the act to the actor and brings the patient to what is called self-awareness, to a place where they see why they acted as they did and why they can just as well act differently. It takes them back through all their emotions to the place where they were when they were an infant, before all troubles started. But just taking themselves back there is not enough. Even though it does have a salutary effect, they must consciously recognize their union with the infinite, oneness with life, partnership with God. Here is an interesting thought to speculate on. If feeling and emotion acting through the avenue of consciousness can produce such havoc, what would happen if the same feeling and emotion were constructively employed? What would happen if we could convert the energy of fear to faith, the energy of doubt and uncertainty into a feeling of belonging to the universe and being safe in it? Would not the original artist himself go forth into a new creation through us? And so it is.
This song is called Love Is My Decision, and I thought it was a good place to start our month of talking about emotions. It's very repetitive, and so I think Bob's going to put up the words. So if you are inclined, please join us.
My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. Up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. Up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can brighten my load. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision, up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision, no one else can lighten my load. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Well, as usual, that was perfect. She just gave my whole talk, so there you have it. No, I think that's wonderful, and that is the decision that we're looking at making today and what we will be talking about. Before I get started, though, I want to give a personal thank you to all of those who helped as part of the yard sale, because we got a lot of steps in. We walked 5 miles yesterday while we were doing this work. And we also brought in enough to really help us with our operational affairs here at the center. So abundance is flowing, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you to all of those who participated in some way or another with the yard sale. That being said, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center. And obviously, we are talking about emotions this month. We're looking at that idea of living everyday wonder, focusing in on the emotions and feelings that we have as human beings walking this planet. And in my household, as I grew up, there were a lot of messages that I picked up along the way that had to do with emotions and what was appropriate, how to express them appropriately, what was permissible, what was not so permissible. Obviously, the ones that were most appropriate were happiness and calm. Letting it just feel like everything was okay. Anger, not so much. Anger usually meant that someone or something was out of control. There were times when it was expressed in violence or someone getting hurt. And so I learned really quickly that anger was not something I wanted to express. And then there was sadness and crying. And that was usually met with, I'll give you something to cry about. Anyone hear that? That one really confused me because I kept thinking, well, I'm already crying. So what is that saying about the reason I'm crying now? Is that saying that it's not worthy of my tears? That it doesn't count? I never understood that when I was being told that. Then on the flip side was the exuberance and joy of childhood and laughter and play, and that was too much. Tone it down, settle down, or go outside. So I hear laughter out there. I think if you take a moment to think back to your own childhoods, what were some of the emotions that were acceptable? How was it acceptable to express them? And what were the subtle messages then that you picked up along the way about your emotions and how they were being expressed? Again, this month, we're focusing on living everyday wonder and focusing on and looking at emotions in our lives. So what beliefs then about your emotions have you carried forward? Might still be impacting you today in your life today. How do you distinguish also between your emotions and the feelings that you're having? What is the difference? Is there a difference? In one of our classes that we teach here, we spend a whole class naming feelings and naming emotions and discussing the differences and connections between those two things. So I decided to look it up in Google to see if they distinguish between feelings and emotions in a similar way to what we do in this class. And the definition that I found was emotions are associated with bodily reactions or that chemical response to an event. Feelings are the conscious experience of those emotional reactions. It's a little slight difference in distinction there. So the emotional chemical response comes first, and it's followed by the feeling. The emotions manifest either consciously or subconsciously. The feelings are experienced consciously. And so I think it's because of that, because we can consciously look at what we're feeling, that Ernest Holmes and a lot of the other New Thought thinkers teach that as we change our thinking about whatever that situation is, we can then change our experience of it. Because we change how we're thinking, we can shift those chemical responses and have a new feeling experience. According to our spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, Dr. Edward Villion, emotions are your inner GPS, letting you know something important is happening in you and should not be ignored. That's in his article at the beginning of the Science of Mind magazine for this month. So as I was reading through what he had to say and thinking about this topic, I started to ask myself, can you imagine life without emotions? No. Can you imagine life without feelings? That's part of our experience as humans. And it reminded me of one of the things that I keep being told a lot in the last couple years as I've been doing my own grieving process, is that grief is the price we pay for love. That the more you have loved, if you've loved deeply, the deeper you grieve. And then this was another quote that I've been given. Grief is the last act of love we give to our loved ones, Where there is deep grief, there is great love. Through the darkness of grief, we can see the light of love, which transcends death. And so I've been pondering that concept. And it is true that those that I am grieving are people that I have loved deeply in my life. But what has happened because of that is I've had come up in my thinking an age-old question. Is it better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all? And I've really been toying with that because given the level of love, the level of grief has been really intense. And I keep telling myself on the one hand, it wouldn't hurt so much if I hadn't loved so much. And so to protect myself from hurt, it's been tempting to say, okay, I'm not doing that again. Let's not love as much, and then it won't hurt as much as I move forward in my life. So again, some of the questions that have come up for me is, do I want to open to love in a way that can open me to this level of pain again? Do we take a chance after we've grieved this deeply to love this deeply again? And is the joy felt in love worth the risk of feeling this level of grief at some point? Well, I've been contemplating this a lot, not just because of this month, but because of my life in the last 2 years. And what I've come to realize and what I've known all along is I believe that each one of us is God expressing. And if we are each God expressing, then we are love expressing, because God and love are synonymous. And so love is our true nature. There's no way to not be love. And we also know that this feeling that we call love shows up in a lot of different ways and expressions in our lives. Ernest Holmes writes about it quite a bit. And in the Science of Mind magazine on page 478, under a section called Love, where he's responding to the book in the Christian scriptures of John 13:34, where it talks about God as love, Ernest Holmes says this: love is the central flame of the universe, nigh the very fire itself. It is written that God is love and that we are its expressed likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation, the impartation of the divine through the human. Love is an essence, an atmosphere, which defies analysis, as does life itself. It is that which is and cannot be explained. It is common to all people, to all animal life, and evident in the response of plants to those who love them. Love reigns supreme over all. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depths or meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact that God is love and love is God. So that being the case, again, love is our true nature. And yet I feel I've experienced within myself that we try and control our outward experiences, our outward feelings in the world and the events that we're experiencing by trying to control how we're feeling internally, with that tendency to shy away from love, to shy away from caring as fully as we can when we're trying to protect ourselves from uncomfortable feelings. In other words, we try and resist uncomfortable feelings, which puts us right back in that cycle of what we resist persists. And I, for one, keep trying to get out of that cycle. I keep trying to remember that. So for years now, I have a practice that I've been doing when there are uncomfortable feelings and even exciting and good feelings that come up and arise. It's a practice that I call sitting with the feeling. So when I become aware of a feeling, I try, and I say try because I am working on it, it's not 100%, but I try and remind myself that that feeling that I have is due to that chemical emotional response from some triggering or precipitating event. And then I remind myself that resisting feelings doesn't lessen them, it only increases that feeling. And so I've learned instead to sit with the feeling, and that's very different than shutting down. My MO had been to shut down from the feeling, but to sit with it, to me, means I allow myself to breathe inward, become aware of that feeling, and I locate it somewhere in my body. Where is it showing up? Am I feeling it in my throat, a tightness in my stomach? I breathe into that space. I also notice what I feel like doing. Do I feel like crying? Something I've tried to avoid a lot of my life. Do I feel like dancing or moving in some way? Do I have something I want to say, but might not be totally appropriate? But what is wanting to happen through my body with this feeling? And again, just examining it and allowing myself to either have the feeling, sometimes even enjoy it if it's one of the feelings that I enjoy. Realizing, and what I've learned is that a feeling doesn't require an action. It's just the feeling. Where I think I always wanted to move into action of some sort. To sit with it doesn't require action, just noticing. Just sitting and allowing myself to recognize what's going on. As I do this, I find that that physical piece of it starts to balance out, move back into a state of feeling more calm. It helps the energy of it to dissipate a bit. So this might sound easier said than done. So I want to take you through some of the processes, the learnings that I've had over the years that led me to this practice. And I'm going to start back with anger. For me, again, anger was one of those things that my go-to reaction was to shut down. If it was out here in my life or if I was feeling it, just clock out. I'm not here. I don't see anything. I don't feel anything, just to shut down. And I had a partner that I was with many years ago as I was raising my daughter, Michelle, who helped me to understand what was happening. I was teaching Michelle, she was about 7, how to play the piano. I don't remember what was happening, but I know that I was getting really frustrated and angry while I was doing this process of trying to teach her on the piano. And my partner decided to tape record what was going on between us. I didn't know she was doing it. When it was all done, she played the recording back to me. And what I heard was myself being very calm, very patient. You would have no idea how angry I was feeling. And when she played that back to me, I realized that because I had equated anger with violence, I felt like I couldn't express it because I didn't want to get violent. So I'd gone to the other extreme, which was to just appear very calm and collected. And what the mother said to me is she needs to know how frustrated you are, how angry you are. And so I had to think about, how am I expressing my anger? How do I convey that to someone if I need them to know that? Ernest Holmes and many of the other New Thought teachers have a lot of writings about the dangers of holding inward emotions and feelings that need to be expressed in some way, of course, expressed in appropriate ways. This is out of the section called Physical Perfection in the Science of Mind text. And Ernest Holmes writes, thoughts of greed, selfishness, and jealousy cause congestion in various factions of the body, especially the kidneys. The work of the kidneys is to eliminate the poisons of the body, but when our minds are filled with thoughts of anger, hatred, and resentment, we are pouring into our body poisons in the making. Too much of this makes a burden on the kidneys, and they are unable to carry, and the upbuilding of body tissues is disturbed. But degenerative thoughts can be turned into creative, energizing, vitalizing ones. Anger can be turned into love. And the very power that has been destroying can be made to build up, not only the kidneys, but the entire body. Now, that's just one paragraph out of this entire section that talks about how what's going on in our minds, our emotions, and our feelings are connected to what's expressing outwardly in our bodies. In fact, again, another class we teach is the mind-body connection, and it's all about how what we're feeling, what's going on in here expresses through the body. And it's important as we look at that to realize that when we are repressing emotions, when we're not looking at them and actively transforming them into some healing or changed way of thinking or being, that they can outpicture in ways that are not healthy for our bodies. The question then, how do we do this? That was one of my big questions early on. How do we transform anger into love when we're not feeling so loving at that moment? So again, part of the progression I went through is I started attending Codependence Anonymous many years before I found this teaching. And in that teaching, I was taught how to identify my feelings, something which I also did not know how to do. I didn't have words for a lot of my feelings. And when we identify our feelings, we're not ignoring them, which is what I learned how to do. So to identify it meant then I could name it. And it was helpful for me to have lists of feelings, feeling words, and go, okay, that one, that's where I'm at right now. So then I could state, I am feeling whatever. And that was a big shift for me. When I started raising my son, one of the things I believed is that it was not okay to hit my child. I wanted to break that cycle. And yet I would get so angry, especially when he spit carrots in my face, that I wanted to just strike out. There were things like that that I found that energy going through my body. I was working with a therapist who suggested that I say to him, I am so angry, I want to hit you right now. And that put that pause in between what I was feeling and the actual action. And that actually worked. He calmed down, I would calm down, and we could move forward. So again, I had to learn to state what I was feeling and put it out there. That moved me then into eventually discovering religious science and beginning to work on that idea of changing my thinking, because a lot of what's creating that anger or whatever the feeling is what I'm telling myself about that event. It's not necessarily the event itself, it's what's going on in here. So changing my thinking was able to then bring in a different response, a different experience. And about the same time I discovered religious science, I also was introduced to Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. And the definition of violent in that arena is acting in ways that result in hurt or harm. So they're talking about communication. It doesn't necessarily mean physical violence, but verbally in ways that hurt or cause harm. So how to learn to communicate in ways that don't create hurt or harm is what the nonviolent communication is all about. So again, the first step to identify what I'm feeling, but it took it to a second step. And that second step was to discover and figure out what the need behind the feeling was. So behind every feeling, according to Marshall Rosenberg, is a need that is either being met or not being met. So when I'm feeling happy about something, there's a need that's being met. If I'm feeling unhappy about something, there's a need that's not being met. That for me has been the hardest piece, to figure out what need behind the feeling is either being met or not. And again, I'm grateful they have lists. You can Google them. You have lists of feelings and lists of needs. I am constantly going to I've got little cards about this big with a list of all the needs. What is the need I'm feeling that I have right now that this feeling is related to? I'm still learning how to identify those. But as you identify the need that's either being met or unmet, then they teach you to say something like this. When you told me thank you, I felt joy, there's the feeling, because my need for appreciation was met. The need being appreciation. So to have those two things connected for me was very helpful. They also teach you how to ask to have your needs met. So here's another example. When I see your clothes on the bathroom floor, I feel angry because I am telling myself, and that's the important piece, what I'm telling myself is that you are not considering me when you throw them on the floor. And I have a need for consideration. So that's just one. You could be a need for something else. I have a need for order. I have a need for cleanliness, whatever it is. But to understand what the need is that's generating that feeling of anger or frustration. Once you learn that, and this is a real quick, this was a lot of lessons in reading, so I'm encapsulating it real quick. But once you learn that process, then you get to learn how to make a request statement. Would you be willing to meet my need for consideration by picking up your clothes? So with these tools, I was getting these tools of how to put things into new phrases. And I was learning through religious science that we could create a mental equivalent of what it is we would like to see. So that would be the need being met. What does that look like? Jesse Jennings in this month's Science of Mind magazine said, what New Thought metaphysics offers is the idea that by redirecting our thoughts and feelings before outer conditions have changed, we furnish them with a template of what to change into. Another way of saying we create a mental equivalent. So as the outer condition might not have changed, but as we focus on what we want to see, we're creating that template for that to be generated in our life. So by identifying my needs and feelings, I now had a template for what it is that I wanted the conditions to look like when they changed. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of retraining thoughts and words that came through me, new concepts. It was very exciting. And I thought I had it made. I could control my whole life. This was going to be great. And then I got the biggest shock of my life. After years of working on identifying my feelings and years of figuring out what the needs were behind those feelings and writing treatments and figuring out how I wanted the conditions to look in my life, I presented this wonderful statement to someone requesting, would you be willing to meet my need for? And the answer was no. No, I don't want to do that. No, that's not what I want in my life. That's not what I had in mind. And I was like, what? After all this work, I thought I was guaranteed a yes. So I thought I had learned to control my conditions by how I worded things, understanding how I was feeling. So had my intentions and prayers gone unanswered? I had to look at that. And as I kept exploring this process, I realized that once somebody said no, my next response was fine. I don't care. Anybody ever said that? I don't care. I just throw up my hands. I don't care. And yet I realized that that was the moment I would let go. And it would feel like letting go in that way was letting go of control. I had put together, if I cared about it, then my love was present. I loved the person, the situation, I loved myself, whatever it was. And to let go of control meant I had to stop that and stop caring. That somehow, if I stopped caring, I could stop controlling. And then I realized, though, that the truth is I do care. I do care. And the question for myself is, can I release control and turn the situation over and still care? Instead of just saying, I don't care, so I could walk away. And if I did that, what would it look like and what would it feel like? And what emotions would support a situation where I released control and still cared? So the next time that I speak in a couple of weeks, I'll share with you what nonviolent communication teaches us to do when you get the no response. But that's not where I'm going today. For now, the aha that I want to share with you is that when I go, oh, I don't care, it's a lie to myself and it's a lie to others. When I say that, it's my attempt to protect myself from some feelings that I don't want to have. Because I do care, because I love, because love is my natural way of being. In the Essential Ernest Holmes, this is out of Ideas for Power, but it's also in here. Ernest Holmes said, it is a simple proposition. Everyone must love and be loved, or he won't be fulfilled or happy. Therefore, it is believed that love looses the greatest energy in the universe, the greatest spiritual energy. And without love, there is a certain part of life that does not come to fulfillment. This is real, it is dynamic, it isn't just a sweet sentimentality. And further on, he says, instinctively then, love seeks its own and there is no fulfillment without it. Consequently, emotionally, Psychologically, and actually in reality, love is the only final security in the universe. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe, and the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit. So I had to really look at what it is I believe. I believe I am love expressing, so that means I do care, whatever the situation is. So I ask myself then, what do I love? Where is love in this situation? And what can I let go of and still care? What do I need to let go of while still caring? And how does caring and releasing control look? Because that's a new concept for me. I think I had conflated caring and controlling. So how do I release control and still be present as a loving entity, a loving being in this situation? And as I was discussing this with a friend, she said to me, well, this is where you have to have faith. And I had to laugh. Faith? You're telling a minister I have to have faith? What had happened to that concept as I was contemplating and chewing on all this? And I realized that in some ways I had forgotten that when we say let go, it's followed by what? And let God. There's the faith. And let God, which is love. So here I am still trying to control everything some way or another, figure it all out, and totally forgot that what we teach is, first of all, that God is love, and that love is the greatest healing power in the universe, and that the universe supports us. The universe is here for us. It's not against us. And so to have faith that as I just allow that love to move in my life, I can release control and still care. So I encourage you to consider that. And I decided that yes, all of that work, figuring out how I feel, what the need is, how to state that, all of that is worth it as I came to that final remembering that I am love in the world, that I can bring that love through new words, through new ways, and I can learn to allow that to be my expression in the world. So when I start to say, I don't care, and if you start to say that, I encourage you to say, wait a minute, I do care. I am love. So what do I care about? I do care because I am God expressing. So what is it that I love? Where is the love in this situation? And since I do care, how can I let more love into this situation? Reverend Jesse Jennings, in the same article that I quoted him from before, says also, where the energy moves, the form is free to follow. So when we shift our thinking, we're moving that energy. Where we move it, the form or the expression, what we experience, is free to follow. So again, another way of saying, change your thinking, change your life. So I also continue then to ask myself, how can I sit with these emotions, whatever they are, as I remind myself that I do care? And from the reading that Teresa read, I won't read the whole thing. I just want to give you the conclusion. Let's see, she's in this book. That final bit from the reading this morning. Here is an interesting thought to speculate on. If feeling and emotion acting through the avenue of consciousness can produce such havoc, what would happen if the same feeling and emotion were constructively employed? What would happen if we could convert the energy of fear to faith, the energy of doubt and uncertainty to the feeling of belonging in the universe and being safe? And I will add, convert anger into love. Would not the original artist himself, all capital, go forth into a new creation through us? A new expression, a new way of being. So for now, I would say, sit with those feelings. Allow yourself to release control of whatever it is you need to release and remember that you do care, and let that spark that faith within you, knowing that you are God expressing, you are love, like that song that we sang. And so it is. Thank you. We have a few practitioners, if they would please stand and help surround us with that loving energy. I'm so grateful to them. They do this work. They're consciously doing this work every day. And I know that many of you are as well. Just allowing us to convert what's going on into a greater sense of love. So as you settle into this space, breathe into your heart center, knowing that you are fully, completely connected with love itself. That feeling of love can be mustered up in any way because it is the truth of your being. It is who we are expressing in the world. And so as we go through our lives, experiencing feelings and emotions, we open ourselves more fully to the caring that comes with being loving essences in this world. I give thanks for the awareness that love is my true essence, that love is my true expression, that God moves in and through me as love. I give thanks for the awareness that at any time I can settle into, sit with a feeling and know that it's just that. No action required, just sit and feel. And know that I am still God, love expressing. And so I give thanks for these awarenesses. I give thanks for how this has transformed my life, and I see it transforming every life of those who hear these words and beyond. We give thanks for how it is we bring more love into the world. I'm grateful again for the center and each individual here, those who are watching through Zoom and those who watch on YouTube. What an amazing thing that technology has brought. A greater connection, a wider birth. We know that this love moves in and through us and out into the world. And so for this, we give great thanks. And so it is. Thank you, practitioners.
The song is called There Is Only Love.
Can you say that louder, Sarah?
There is only love. I forgot. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am. Let it fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. I lose myself when I feel I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, and Spirit gently say, there is only love, there is only love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only
that sets me free. There is only love.
Love that heals, love that sets me free.
There is only love.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's a song we can sing all week. There's only love. Thank you so much, Sarah and Doug, for that one. They picked the perfect songs. We're still in the flow here. We are still in the flow. And part of how we share our love is through what we bring into the center and the 10% that we send out into our community. And this month of May, we are giving to the Aggie Cupboard, whose mission it is to provide free supplementary food assistance to the NMSU community, including Las Cruces main campus and the DACC students, faculty, and staff. We strive to create an atmosphere of care and concern and support for those who may be struggling with food insecurity. The Aggie Cupboard works to educate on the prevalence of food insecurity and hunger experienced by the NMSU community. And some of us here have gone and helped and volunteered at the Aggie Cupboard. And it's pretty amazing to think that even people who are employed at the university are experiencing this, and they are. And the students, some of them really experiencing it. So it's a great service that we are supporting this month to allow them to feed that part of the community. So let's say together, whoa, wait a minute, we need another word, another one. Divine love. We'll get there. Bob's doing a great job. We are so grateful. We might have it memorized. There we go. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God in me. Just remember that as well as you sing, There is Only Love. And now we will sing, I Am So Blessed. Yes. Okay.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
Well, I hope you take that feeling of being blessed, the feeling, with you for this week. And I hope that you start to have some time with your own thoughts around emotions and feelings as we look at these ideas throughout this month. Please know that you bless my life, and I'm so very, very grateful for each and every one of you, even those of you there on the camera. We are so grateful again to Bob and his ability to make this happen for us. Yay, yes, yay. Please remember the practitioners are here to pray with you, and you bless them as much as they bless you when you ask them for that prayer after the service. Let's make a circle around the room. Are we doing peace? As we sing the peace songs.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. It's unbelievable.
I don't think it's the words up because I don't know the words.
Let
every step was meant to be. With God as our center, and we all agree. Let's walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me, let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my sort of vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.